Hey, me and Matt here, and this is Killer Kyle. Alright, so that's all the fun stuff. Let's talk about the worst Wrestlemania matches in our opinion. I'm not going to talk about last year's Braun Strowman take team match with a kid, or Hogan trying to get one up on Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9. But here we go. So, first on my list, it's, I guess for the time, it was alright. We have two matches for WrestleMania 11. We've got Shawn Michaels versus Diesel. And this match was the shits. I mean, that was not, first of all, the title didn't change hands, which is normal. Sometimes that happens. The fact of the matter is that it was just a stupid match. I don't know why it could have been better. I just don't know how they would have made it better. It just really sucked. But then you go on to Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow. It always amazes me how Bam Bam Bigelow got the main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah, really. I mean, okay, you've got a fairly well-known big man in the sport of wrestling. And you've got, I would say, one of the most popular football players at that period of time going against each other in the ring. Now, this was quite different from WrestleMania 2 when they had that big battle royal and you had like William Perry, a bunch of others in it. Because you had, I think at this point, Bam Bam was with the $1 Million Corporation.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so it had those guys outside the ring on his side, and then for Lawrence Taylor, you had Mongo, Stephen Michael.
Oh, wow.
This is before he was with WCW doing commentary, and you had some other guys. And I mean, for Lawrence Taylor not being, I'm sure he was a very good athlete, but for him not being familiar with being in a wrestling ring and how to wrestle and all this other stuff, he did okay. He got blown up pretty early on in the match, and I mean, they put him over for whatever reason, but
You know, and that's not gonna be the last time that this is gonna happen. I understand it. He is a football player. A lot of pro wrestlers. There's a long list of pro wrestlers who are football players.
right.
That's great. But here's the thing. He's a football player. This is professional motherfucking wrestling. When did you ever see a professional wrestler go over? Let's see. It's kind of like seeing a baseball player go to MMA and beat Chuck Liddell, let's say. You'd be pissed off.
Well, yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, you know, Wrestlemania 2. You got fucking Roddy Piper body slam Mr. T
Yeah.
because he didn't want to. Well, good for him. You know what? I applaud him because it's professional wrestling. You know, you get an outsider who beat a wrestler. And it won't be the last time this bullshit happened. And I know I didn't put this match on the list because I'm going to talk about it right now. Fucking Big Show and Floyd Money Mayweather. You know, the guy goes into the ring and he's got his buddies on the outside going, that ain't fair. That ain't right. Yes, it is because he's in the goddamn wrestling ring. You know, okay, fine. He beat Big Show. The tallest wrestler in WWE. Maybe the largest athlete in the world. Who fucking knows? But Lawrence Taylor had no business beating Bam Bam Bigelow. In fact, I'm always going to be surprised that Bam Bam Bigelow got the main event at WrestleMania. Those two matches were the shits. This era of wrestling was kind of the shits. And you know, that's just... I'm glad I picked those two. And believe me, there's more.
It's interesting how you do have athletes from other sports getting into wrestling or MMA, but a lot of them seem to get really over, and a lot of them seem to belly flop.
Well, like CM Punk, for example. Here's a guy that goes into fucking MMA. He's lost how many fights? Yep.
2.
Hell yeah. I used to believe in CM Punk, and that was a fucking joke. You know, this is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey seems to be doing well in WWE. She's really made herself a great wrestler in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same can be said for Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn. You know, it's just fucking insane. And what happens if Conor McGregor, because apparently he just quit MMA, so I'm not sure if he even will try going into the ring. Not to mention, you got guys like fucking Tito Ortiz and Quentin Jackson in TNA trying to be wrestlers.
Yeah.
That didn't work. It just bothers me when I see outsiders, not so much MMA guys, it's similar. But the fact is, football players had no business at WrestleMania beating wrestlers.
True.
So, fuck, it's just nothing more I can say. On account of Diesel and Shawn Michaels, that match could have been a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, I suppose.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I made up my list for best matches, and I mulled over a lot of things as far as worst matches would go, and this will probably be a bit of a shock. I couldn't really find anything that I thought was the worst. I have seen every WrestleMania from 85 to 2018, and well, I enjoyed all of the WrestleManias. I enjoyed all the matches. I mean, find matches to nitpick about, okay, that's one thing. But to have a match that was, I could rank as the worst?
Well, I mean, it's worst in your opinion. It doesn't have to mean any other opinion.
No, I know. And I mean, it was just one of those things where, in my opinion, I couldn't really think of any matches that I felt were the worst. I mean, could I nitpick? Sure. But to definitively call a match, or more than one match, the worst? I'll be damned. Honestly.
Well, in that case, I guess I'll go. Well, let's talk about this match then. We got WrestleMania 19. It's Triple H versus Booker T. Now, I just saw an interview with Booker T, and he's lying through his teeth. I mean, a lot of these guys, they try to justify why they lost at WrestleMania. So it's like, alright, so you got the vignettes, you have Triple H, being racist and all that shit, talking to Booker T, putting him down and all that. The fact of the matter is, Booker T should have been the WWE champion, or the world champion at this case. Didn't happen. It felt like that, yeah, he hurt his leg and all that. The way the match ended was so stupid. He's on the mat. Triple H crawls over. It must have taken like 2 or 3 minutes. When's the match? Like, seriously? Couldn't get a kick out from that? So, yeah, I'm always gonna hate that match for that. It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Booker T would eventually get the world title. But as what? King Booker?
Yeah.
So.
Then, of course, there was their SummerSlam rivalry, King Booker and the King of Kings.
Triple H coming back and once again beating Booker T.
Yeah.
So on your best list, you had Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in an Iron Man match.
Uh-huh.
And, I debated whether I wanted to do this because I put it on my list of, I think, worst matches. I don't think it was a terrible match myself.
Right.
This is my problem. The fact is, I don't think this was the first Iron Man match in history. In WrestleMania history, yes. But there was no falls, so you couldn't determine who was better than who. So, when the time came, you've got Shawn Michaels in the sharpshooter, and when the time was out, Bret thinks he won. So he grabs the belt, he walks out. They say, well, the match is going to be sudden overtime. Sudden death overtime. Why? Because there was no fucking falls. It's an Iron Man match. They obviously kiboshed the rules. They wrestled for over an hour with no falls. I'm not saying this was a terrible match, but the fact is they didn't know what a fucking Iron Man match was. So Bret goes back into the ring, and the match restarts, and of course, Shawn Michaels lives his dream, becomes the first ever WWF champion, well, for him. Tells Bret to get the fuck out of his ring, and now I'm hearing that it was actually set up that way. The fact of the matter is, and I keep saying that, but it's true, the match would have been a hell of a lot better had there been pinfalls or submissions. Because then that would determine who won the match. But they didn't do that. So, we basically, and you know what, it is what it is. We saw them train and whatever, so they definitely put on a great match. I just wish that they would have actually had an Iron Man match instead of, oh, we're going to wrestle for an hour And then at the last second, you know, we're gonna think that Bret Hart won.
In my opinion, you having Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart going that whole hour with no falls goes to show you just how good those two are. Yes, there could have been falls, and you know, whoever had the most falls won, but Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels being as good in-ring competitors as they are, and how good of a storytellers they were in the ring, really goes to show you that they could put on a match and not have a decision and people go, oh man, that was a really good match. These guys are really awesome. And yes, people thought that Bret Hart won, and then it was decided that it was going into sudden death over time, and then Shawn ended up winning the title. That all being said, you can't argue the fact that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, at that point in time, were two of the best wrestlers in WWE, and they really put on a good match, and the fact that there was no falls in that match whatsoever really emphasized just how good those two really are. And yeah, and they even went as far as like having a lot of really close near falls.
Right.
And that just added, like, it really added to the drama of the match.
Well, I will say they were one of the two best wrestlers of the 90s, I'll give you that. And I mean, there's not really much more I can say about it. I mean, now that you say that, it does make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I mean, you can't not like the fact that, yeah, the whole match went without a fall, and the match should have been decided within the hour. But at the same time, it's like, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are that good that they can go that long of a period of time, not have a single fall, and people were just captivated.
yeah, that is true as well. Anyway,
Just me, though.
anyway, that'll make me look better. So let's talk about this match, WrestleMania 31, which, yeah, I mean, I saw it on the computer.
Right.
It was choppy, so it was kind of. But you have this match, and there was so much promise. You have Sting come into the WWE, the last of the WCW wrestlers, coming into WWE. He even said to fight for WCW would be pointless. Okay, great. Now, you have this match, Triple H versus Sting, and it's like, you know, the showdown of the showdowns. You have Triple H with the sledgehammer. You have Sting with his bat.
Yeah.
You think, okay, this is going to be an interesting match. They go into WrestleMania 31, and he just couldn't help himself. Triple H wins the match. Why? Because he's fucking the King of Kings. He has to beat a WCW guy. This was one more way to stick it to WCW in some people's opinions. I happen to agree with that. Why? Because you had Goldberg, you know, lose to Triple H. Yeah, it wasn't on WrestleMania. You have Scott Steiner. Okay, again, this wasn't WrestleMania. This was WrestleMania. We show off shows. Another reason that pisses me off is because you have NWO coming out after DX, but you have NWO coming out. If you're going to do that, then why not have a 4-on-4 match? Think about it, though. You could have had DX, you know, New Age Outlaws, X-Pac, Triple H versus NWO and Sting. I know that Sting wasn't involved in NWO in, well, black and white NWO. But the fact is, you could have had that, but no, we gotta have Triple H and Sting. Triple H is gonna beat Sting, and they're gonna have a shaking hands and whatever. So what happens? Well, let's see. Sting was gonna go face Seth Rollins, gets injured, and that's the end of Sting. There was so much possibility for him in WWE in his last run as a professional wrestler, but you fucking ruined it. Imagine what would have happened if he beat Triple H at Mania. Imagine that, but nope, we couldn't have that.
I honestly think the reason why they had NWO and DX involved in that match was, yeah, DX to have Triple H's back and the NWO to have Sting's back. It was all a nostalgia thing.
I know it was a nostalgia thing, but you could have had them, and let's look at that. That's right too. You could have had them in the corner of Sting and Triple H during their match, and not have them come out during their match. It would have made a lot more sense, but nope, we couldn't do that.
The reaction that both DX and especially the NWO got when they came out and got involved was amazing.
And they came and they wrestled in the ring, I can't understand why they could have made things differently. If they could have stuck to having, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because I think that would have been much more fun to see NWO and Sting's corner. You have DX and Triple H's corner. Yes, they came out and down the aisle. Yes, people cheered them. People loved them. I look forward to it as well. I mean, I liked it as well. But the fact is, for some reason, it just didn't make sense to me. I don't know why. It just didn't make sense to me. And the fact that you could have had Sting go over, and then have them shake hands. Have Triple H shake hands with Sting, knowing that Sting beat him. But that doesn't happen because Triple H, for some reason or another, had to win the match. Yeah, I know. It's frustrating, but I can't think of any other way.
For me, I actually really liked this match. It was actually a really good match. And having one of the most popular factions of the 90s for WWE and DX. Yeah, one of the most popular factions in WCW throughout the 90s and the NWO. Getting involved for having a face-off for the first time ever. It was really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And as far as Triple H and Sting shaking hands after the match, that just goes to show you how much respect they had for each other. Mm-hmm. And I believe that Sting, at some point, really wanted to have a one-on-one match with Triple H. It was one of those things where he had a bucket list, maybe you could say, of things he wanted to do before he retired, and one of them was to have a match with Triple H. The only thing that for me really screwed up was you have a pretty good match with Triple H and Sting. The match ends, you got Triple H with DX, you got Sting with the NWO, they shake hands, and then afterwards, maybe 20 minutes later or so, you got Triple H in the ring with Stephanie, and he's right back into heel mode. Talking about, oh, I beat Sting, and I beat that worthless piece, whatever. And it's like, dude, you ruined it.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, that's his ego for you. Think about this too. And I know that you've probably thought about it. Sting versus Undertaker.
Oh, a lot of people did.
Now, whether it could have been WrestleMania 31, because let's think about this for a second. instead of having this whole face of fear angle with Bray Wyatt, yeah, I didn't mind seeing that match. But the fact is, Undertaker's better than that. I love the Wyatts. I like the whole thing with the Scarecrow or whatever. The fact of it is, though, is Sting and Undertaker should have been number one priority. They should have been number one priority. Yeah, I get it. Triple H and Sting, okay, Sting's bucket list, whatever, fine. But we will never in a lifetime see Undertaker and Sting in a match because of what happened with Seth Rollins.
Right.
It wasn't anybody's fault, that's just the way it happened.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that will never happen.
Yeah.
You know, Sting versus Kane, that would have been a good match too. You know, the possibilities were endless. And then, you know, the whole thing with Monday Night Wars and, you know, Vince buying out WCW and fucking having Sting and Steiner and all those guys sit at home pulling a pecker and being paid for it is absolutely bullshit. Because they could have been in WWE sooner than later. Imagine how the invasion angle could have been. You know, Sting versus Undertaker. Well, at the time, American Badass. You know, it's just, I don't fucking know. I mean,
the invasion angle they had in 2001 could have been a lot better if they had have gotten all their ducks in a row.
pretty much.
Don't get me wrong. The people that they had for the invasion, as far as WCW was concerned, were pretty good talent, but nowhere near the talent that should have been for that invasion angle.
That is true, yeah.
And yeah, we could have seen Sting versus Taker. You could have seen Booker T versus Triple H. Well, or Austin maybe. Well, he joined the alliance, but whatever. Could have had... who else can I think of? Scott Steiner against Kurt Angle. You know what I'm getting
I know what
at.
you're saying. Anyways. I'll do honorable mentions afterwards because I just thought of a match. WrestleMania 33, I keep saying was one of the best WrestleManias in a while. I think about it, some of the matches were kind of mediocre. This match especially, so much potential. I really enjoyed the vignettes with Miz and Maurice doing Cena and Nikki Bella thing.
Yeah.
That was fun. The fact is, they didn't need to have a mixed tag match. Yes, Nikki Bella's a wrestler. If you wanted to go there, and his whole purpose was to have John Cena propose to Nikki Bella. Which is whatever. It's for the ladies. I get it. But what happened a year later? John Cena's like, I don't want no kids. Nikki's like, I want kids. Alright, then bye. Well, they got that's great. Oh, you did all that for nothing. That's fantastic. Idiot. And then, we could have had John Cena versus The Miz at WrestleMania. That would have been cool. No, instead you had this match. And of course, Al Roker has to be there and screws up a name. I can't remember which one it was. But, you know, I didn't like the match. I didn't like I liked everything that led up to it. But this match, we could have just did without.
The one thing about this match is it was mainly Miz and John Cena. Nikki Bella got involved a little bit with Maurice. And I don't really think Maurice could have lived up to the standards at that point in time that she did when she was first in WWE. Like, you leave the ring for an extended period of time, whether it be having a baby or injury or whatever the case may be, you get back in the ring to compete, it's questionable as to whether or not you can still, quote unquote, hang with the best of them. And Miz and Cena have always done good work with each other in the ring. I just don't think Maurice felt that she could be on Nikki Bella's level.
Okay, well, that's just fantastic.
Because, I mean, like, you look at that match. Miz and Cena worked the majority of the match. Oh, Nikki and Maurice did some things here and there. And the finish was the double, the attitude adjustment and the
Okay, that was cool.
rack attack
Yeah.
2.0 or whatever. But it was mainly Nikki carrying Maurice.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe that after that match, she didn't continue on anything because, well, quite honestly, Nikki schooled Maurice.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know, I thought we could have did without this match. Honestly. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the vignettes, but if you're gonna have John Cena versus The Miz, I would have been happy with that, but I mean, what does John care? He's gotta go to his mansion and whatever. So,
I mean, this match was the Maurice of 2008, 2007. When it would have been a really good tag team match. Well, the fact is, Maurice couldn't really hang with Nikki, and it was almost a singles match with Nikki and Maurice just kind of there. And kind of in this corner of Cena and Maurice, or Miz.
right.
Not saying that, Maurice was a crappy wrestler. She was a very good wrestler. It just didn't seem to go to work out very well when this match came around.
No, for sure.
And I mean, you even take into consideration how much preparation Maurice would have had prior to this match. Probably not a whole lot.
No.
So,
Yeah. Anyways. We got WrestleMania 20. Obviously, we're going to talk about, but we have Rock and Sock Connection versus Evolution. And I thought, if you're going to have Mick Foley being celebrated because it's Madison Square Garden, at least have the Rock and Sock Connection go over. You have Randy Orton, who could have defended his Intercontinental title that night. You've got Batista, you've got Ric Flair. And then you get the reunited Rock and Sock Connection. And you got The Rock, talking, and there's Don Morocco, and there's fucking superstar, that guy there.
Jimmy Snuka.
Jimmy Snuka. And we got, Mick Foley. Look, here's a crowd, see? Here's your crowd, WrestleMania. Mick Foley, Madison Square. Okay, great. Well, the match happens, and yeah, guess what, dumbass? The show goes to Evolution. I get it, it's a numbers game. But you cannot Randy Orton. Here's a fucking idea. Randy Orton could have put the Intercontinental title match with Mick Foley. Mick Foley versus Randy Orton for the Intercontinental title at Madison Square Garden. But no, we have to have Evolution. You have to have... These guys are fucking stupid. You got Mick Foley agreeing to this shit. Got Batista, he could have a match with somebody else. He could have ran Ric Flair's diaper out so he could have a match with somebody else, but no, it's gotta be 3 against 2. It just makes me sick because then, the Rock and Sock Connection lose. Why? What was the point? What was the fucking point? Because you get Mick Foley getting up and The Rock is applauding him, everyone's standing on their feet. Why? Because I lost the goddamn match. It was fucking pointless. And you know what? I'm glad for Backlash because Orton and Foley put on an awesome fucking match.
Yeah.
Orton still won. But you know what? Whatever. The fact of the matter is, it would have been nice to see Orton and Foley on WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship match. Didn't happen. Sucks. And you know, it's a shame that it had to happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What you think?
I mean, having the Rock and Sock connection get back together and have a match at WrestleMania 20, Madison Square Garden, you know, the whole story of Mick Foley would hitchhike to the Garden and watch wrestling matches at the Garden, and you know, he saw Jimmy Snuka jump off the top of the keys onto Don Morocco and all this other stuff. Was great. The match itself was actually really good. Having Evolution go over, that's, whatever.
No, I disagree. It shouldn't have been now, whatever. The fact of the matter is, Evolution didn't need to go over. If you're gonna put the Rock and Sock connection back together, then have them go over the match. But once again, you know, that can't happen. You got a 50-something-year-old guy, you got Orton, who was a fucking dumbass at the time, and then Batista. This match was bullshit. I'm sorry, but it was fucking bullshit. It didn't need to happen that way. And to not have your Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania is also criminal. My opinion. Just the way I think, you know. But let's talk about, now, we got Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 20 with Steve Austin as the special guest referee.
Yeah.
Now, I honestly thought it could have been worse. But
Could have been worse, but also could have been a fuck a lot better.
exactly. Now, I mentioned this last year. You have the dirt sheet. You know, oh, hey, Lesnar is going over to MMA. I know he's going over to football. Goldberg's gonna do whatever the fuck Goldberg's gonna do. And everyone knew about it. And it's Madison Square Garden. It's New York City. They're gonna boo the shit out of both of them. There was no fucks given in the match. And it's a fucking shame. But Goldberg won.
Lesnar didn't give a shit. Goldberg didn't give a shit. The fans didn't give a shit. It was one big shit show.
Yeah. It really pisses me off. Because it could have, well, you know what, it shouldn't have, because years later you would have got, well, even that was a short match in Toronto at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Goldberg beating Lesnar. And then, WrestleMania. You have Goldberg, Lesnar for the Universal title. Of course, Lesnar won, but, you know, at least it was a better match.
Yeah.
I think that if nobody knew anything about this whole thing where they were going to leave after WrestleMania, it would have been a hell of a lot better. But that's the thing, man. That happens. It's bullshit.
Well, I think there's more to it than just the fans knowing that both of them were leaving. I honestly think if Lesnar wasn't going to pursue football and Goldberg wasn't going off to do whatever the fuck he was going to do, and they still both had contracts with WWE, and they actually gave a shit, it could have been an awesome match. But because of the fact that Lesnar's going to train with Minnesota Vikings and Goldberg was dipsy doodle, hoopty doopty, fucking all over the place, neither one of them gave a shit.
No.
And hell, probably Austin didn't give a shit either. He was probably just there for fucking paycheck.
That's the only thing that crowd popped over was Austin giving stunners.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what does that fucking tell you? Nah, nothing really.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I mean, like, when Goldberg did come back, he did say that he came back so his son could say he saw his dad wrestle and, wrestle for his son and all that, which is great. But at least Lesnar and Goldberg had at WrestleMania 30, fucks were given. There was intrigue in the match.
No fucks were given. But yeah, you're right.
And they actually put on a really good performance.
Oh, fucks were given. Yeah, you're right.
Foul!
Yeah, you're definitely right there. And, things happen, different mindset through the years, obviously.
Yeah.
But, really, it just kind of pissed me off because at the time I was watching it on TV, on a pay-per-view. Didn't really know why the match sucked, but I guess it, what is what it is.
I mean, you even look at it this way. If Lesnar and Goldberg knew that they were going to be leaving WWE, going off and venturing off, try and get into football, and try and get into acting, or whatever the case was for Goldberg, they'd want to go, okay, let's have a match at WrestleMania, let's put on one hell of a show, and go out on top. But no, they didn't give a fuck. All they cared about was, oh, once this match is over, I don't have to fucking deal with wrestling anymore.
Right.
And it's like, are you stupid?
And look what happened in 2012. Lesnar's back. 2016, Goldberg's back.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
I mean, once the match finally did end, I'm sure both Goldberg and Lesnar popped a boner realizing they didn't have to wrestle anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was video. Any honorable mentions or honorable matches you didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
When I was making up my list, there was like several different things I mulled over, but it was one of those things where, like, okay, yeah, we both talked about a few matches that we both had on our list, but I was trying to, as much as possible, to differentiate my list from yours, just so we could have two separate lists, to recall things that I had thought of at that period of time to talk about now. Not likely.
Yeah. Alright. Well, I guess I have one. Let's talk about WrestleMania 33 once again, the SmackDown Women's Championship. It's Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss as the champion. You have Naomi, Natalia was there.
Yes.
It's pretty bad when you're trying to think. But oh, Carmella.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this was a solid match. It kind of, Naomi being the Miami native one.
The hometown girl.
Yeah. Which was weird because a few weeks prior, she won the championship only to forfeit.
Yeah.
So that
sucked.
Yeah, it really did. But that was a pretty good match. I mean, you think about WrestleMania 33, and I think that I keep saying that was the best WrestleMania in years. I mean, yeah, it was alright. I think that the Hardys coming back were definitely...
That was cool.
Yeah, I think that was definitely cool. Other than that, there wasn't really that much. Undertaker being Roman Reigns' bitch was, weird.
Yeah.
But, anyways.
One thing that I did just think of now was WrestleMania 31 The match with Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. Or was, yeah, 31. The match itself was really, really good, but I would say my favorite moment of that match. Seth Rollins goes to the curb stomp, Randy Orton steps up, boom!
Yeah. Could say whatever I want about Randy Orton, but the guy definitely is creative with that arcade.
Oh, I know.
And that was something I would pop for. But
I mean, after that RKO, Randy's probably going to have to see if he can come up with creative ways to be as good as that one, or maybe outdo that one. But I mean, that one was just amazing.
yeah, I agree with that. Alright, so that was a best and worst list of WrestleManias. So like I said, this is like 3 sections. Yeah. But anyways, like I said in the beginning of the video, we're gonna do best and worst WrestleMania, best and worst Survivor Series, best and worst SummerSlam matches, best and worst Royal Rumble matches, or whatever, something like that. Then 2020, holy shit! Think about something else.
1 week from tonight, next Friday will be TakeOver New York. The Saturday will be the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and then Sunday will be WrestleMania.
Yeah, definitely is going to be jam-packed to the Raptors. We will be talking about it, obviously. I think we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame induction ceremony on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, most of you people won't see it, but, just to minimize a few things. But yeah, definitely do our WrestleMania review, NXT
TakeOver New York
review. So it's gonna be fucking jam-packed and it's gonna be awesome. I hope that this year's WrestleMania, I think SmackDown definitely got their shit together.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan SmackDown this past week got their shit together, and they're trying to find more things to think about for WrestleMania. So
yeah.
The only thing I wish they would bring was the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure also next week when we talk about TakeOver and WrestleMania, we'll have some sort of wacky costume or
something
different
like
look of some kind. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We've done it for the last couple of WrestleMania, so why not keep the trend going? It doesn't really matter all that much, but hey, it works for us, so
yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, so for me and Matt, this is Killer Kyle, and we will see you next time. Deuces.
Deuces.
And if you're not down with that, we've got 2 words for you.